Well, it's another conversations and with me is Richard Morco, my very dear friend from the hills of West Brookfield. And it's great to have you. You know, Richard, I've been thinking about this. We have now, I think it's 105, we up that high, candidates for president on the Democratic ticket.
Well, I have my people still out collecting signatures, and I know you've been talking, your folks have been talking you up, and is there anybody in Charlton who hasn't entered the race who's a Democrat?
No, I don't know.
I'm telling you.
But anyway, here's the thing. I thought we might spend some time because one of the things that's obviously happened is since Joe Biden has jumped into the race, and you know, I've been thinking, and I'm looking, and as you indicated, logically, but that's kind of crazy to think logically. Here's a guy that served in the House of Representatives. I don't know how many terms as a senator. I mean, years and years in the Senate. Served with some great senators.
His gum is still under his desk.
I'm sure. He served with some great senators and had an opportunity to be the vice president for 8 years. Now, if you're going to talk qualifications, certainly he comes credentialed. Knows his way around the town, is what they like to say. And certainly has a lot of friends on both sides of the aisle. And he has really, I mean, he's skyrocketing in the polls. He's basically rendered Bernie Sanders irrelevant.
Yeah.
I was talking to some friends in the Boston area over the weekend, and they were talking about Elizabeth Warren, that she's a doer, and she's got some things passed in the Congress, and she's got some bills that and I said, she's not likable. And they looked at me and they said, what do you mean? I said, have you seen her on the stage? She's jumping up and down like a cheerleader for Harvard, running around, yelling and hollering. I said, she's a woman and she's not likable. You don't like her. I'm watching her on television and I'm saying, what are you doing, Elizabeth? You know? So I think she's self-destructing. I think her party's over.
Well, she did Fox a big favor. Now, Fox had a town meeting for, who'd they have it for? Bernie. So now they have to have town meetings for all the Democrats. And that would take up the schedule. That would so clog up their schedule. So Elizabeth, dear Elizabeth, said, I'm not going to have a town meeting on Fox. That's the worst racist,
that's Trump's network.
That's the most disgusting, racist, terrible, Trumpist network. Not me. Oh gosh, we saved some time. Oh, thank Liz is clueless. I mean, right now she isn't big in the polls, so she says, I'll throw anything against the wall to see if it sticks. Not a horrible strategy. But she's
not likable.
Yeah, she's not likable, and the thing she's throwing up are the wrong things.
I mean, I remember John Kennedy, and he had some great ideas. He was a Democrat, but he was a Catholic, but he was likable.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of friends of mine who didn't happen to bless themselves, who said, I'm going to vote for the guy, and the reason is he's a nice guy, and I like him.
He was not really likable. He was lovable.
Yeah. I mean, he smiled, and he was pleasant and kind and spoke well, you know, and he was likable, you know, and so he won an election that otherwise he might not have won.
Yeah.
And so you go back through history, and Harry Truman was likable, you know, and he beat Dewey.
Liz Warren makes Amy Klobuchar look like a Dale Carnegie instructor.
Oh, it's sad, really. It is. But you know what I'm thinking? When all is said and done, I mean, everybody's saying, well, the reason Biden is doing well, he's got name recognition. Hello? Of course. That's why he's in.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, I'm thinking that as a purist, an interesting ticket. Now, because I've been there and in the same room when you're trying to match people, you got to get people who genuinely like each other. I was involved. Remember Jerry Ferraro?
Yep.
Walter Mongale had her first woman on the ticket. I was in, Mike Dukakis called me up, asked me if I'd be on a committee. Sure. I met with her and Mondale. and we had a meeting. There was a group of us. And the goal was to see if Mondale and Jerry fit. Because they had to be on the same page. You can't have, and we saw in recently where poor John McCain, and I think he would have been a heck of a president, personally. I met him, had a great chance to talk with him, but he picked Sarah Palin. And she was a loose cannon on the deck. She cost him the election, because they weren't compatible. She went off on her own and cost him dearly, Now, would he have won without her? I don't know. I can't. Who knows? But she didn't help him, in other words. But the ticket, I think, would be great if that chemistry is there, is Biden and Kamala Harris. I think that would be a formidable ticket.
A lot of people are saying that, and I suspect they would be. But what would they be for? What would they be for?
Well, this election isn't going to be for or against. This is going to be, you want me or you want Trump? That's what it's coming, in my opinion. I think that's what it's coming to. That's what it is. You want me or you want Trump?
I think you're right. I think Trump, under those conditions, I think Trump can win. Depending on a couple of things. First of all, Barr is going after all the people who Trump feels
he wants to get.
Well, not he wants to. Yeah, I'm sure he wants to get them, but who set him up? Who set up the dossier? He's going after Brennan and Comey and Clapper, who are crooks. They are crooks, and deserve to be taken down. So that's going to, if he can do it, if Barr can do that, he helps Trump, and Barr and Trump's fingerprints won't be on it.
Well, we'll see. But again, the election is going to come. Even no matter what happens, it's going. If Trump is still standing and is running, and there's some question about that, if he's still standing and running, it's going to come down to you want Trump or you want us.
They have to debate.
I understand, and here's the difference. Trump's going to get. He's already calling him Sleepy Creepy Joe, and after a while that gets old. You know what I'm saying? You can only get along.
Didn't last time.
Well, but this is another. This is now 4 years later.
Yeah, the shtick is maybe.
And we've had 4 years of it now.
That's possible.
It's been around a long time, and again, if I were advising Biden, I'd say, Mr. President, aren't you above that? Mr. President, Mr. President, I'm a former representative. I've served 20 years in the Congress of the United States. I've been a vice president. Aren't you above calling me a name? What are you, a kid in kindergarten, Mr. President?
I think that's a good strategy. I think it's a great strategy. But remember, we watched Biden debate Ryan.
Yeah.
And he made Ryan is an erudite guy.
Yeah.
He knows a lot about a lot. Biden ain't that knowledgeable. He was always a creature of his staff for numbers.
Yeah.
He was the guy who would go out in the stump.
Yeah.
So Biden didn't know as much as Ryan, but he slapped him. My friend here. Remember, he kept saying,
yeah.
My friend here. It was great. Biden won that debate, even though he didn't really say anything.
That's right.
But you got to think he's going up against Trump with somebody, there's two style. He's not going to be able to pull that off.
But yeah, he will. And I'll tell you why. Because I'd be his advisor. And I'd say...
well, he's not going to call you.
I know. And I'd say to him, Joe, every time he lies, every time he exaggerates, clobber him. Mr. President, that's not true. You know that's not true, Mr. President.
But he can't talk. He can't be the distinguished. Biden cannot, like Trump can't, be the distinguished gentleman saying, my dear sir, why are you not above that? Biden can't do that.
I understand.
Trump can't do that.
Right.
And besides that,
here's the
Biden
difference, though.
tells a lot of lies.
Here's the difference. Trump didn't get the total vote, number one. But he won 4 states that are key. Biden's now focusing on those 4 states. And he didn't win those states by a lot. He just barely won them. So if Trump is vulnerable, those are the 4 states. If Trump loses 2 of those 4 states, he can't win.
Yeah.
He can't win.
And you're right.
And so,
And that's what it
and
might
that's
come
what
down
they're,
to.
that's what I mean. The one state they're really concentrating on is Pennsylvania, where it was that much he won by, but he won, and that's now Trump says I swamped everybody. Oh, he didn't, but the problem is that if they could be successful, whoever is running could take two of those 4 states, it's over. Now, even if Trump gets every vote that he got in the past, he can't win. But the problem is that the interesting thing is that the government of the United States is in disarray. I mean, now there's a group of people, there's a whole new thing. Now they're going after Graham, who hated Trump, who's now Trump's biggest supporter. And they're asking him to resign because he made some ridiculous comments the other day, because he gets mad. And then he shoots his mouth off. And then and now they're clobbering him on some things he said. And so, he's not going to resign, and I understand that. And he'll never lose in his own state because they love him. But the point is that it's going to be politically very interesting. Now, the biggest problem that Biden has, I see, is he's got 26 people running. He's got to get rid of them. He's got to get them out of there. Now, and that means he's got to sit down with them and say, hey, you're not going to win. Come out and endorse me. You know what I'm saying? Now, I hope he's working on stuff like that. Because if he's not, how are you going to put 20 people on the stage?
This is the thing now. The one person he's really, almost all of them, except the one I really like, and she doesn't have much of a chance, are non-entities. They're not non-entities. They might be knowledgeable or something, but on the stage, they're one shot. They're flashes in the pan. He's got to get the others out. He's really the one he has to get out is Bernie. Because if Bernie stays in and they have a wholesale dropping out, Bernie looks better. And Bernie will probably get their votes because most of them are appealing to ideologues.
Yeah.
So if you can get Bernie, if you can burn Bernie, oh God,
yeah.
I think that he doesn't have to worry about the 25 midgets.
No.
What do you?
Well, I think I think the thing that's happening is he's already doing that. Bernie's numbers have dropped considerably since Biden got in.
Yes.
Now, the other thing is Bernie's not helping Bernie either. Bernie's done some dumb things.
Yes.
And so Bernie, see, I know the guy, and there's certain guys that will make a mistake, will do something wrong, and are very honest and sincere and say, gee, I made a stupid mistake. I'm really sorry. That's not Bernie. See, Bernie will make a mistake and pretend it wasn't a mistake. You see, and doesn't, and tries to avoid it and get away from it. And that could come back to bite him. Because he said some things. I guess he's had some problems with his campaign, with women. And, first of all, the country has got to a point where, I grew up in a big Irish family. And when we see each other, we hug each other. Now, you got to ask somebody, like I saw a friend of mine, and I said, is it okay to give you a hug? And he laughed. And he says, of course, we hugged each other. I said, I'm sorry, but I don't want to offend you, and I don't want to be sued.
True.
For hitting on you, And he laughed. But so society has changed, even on the campaign trail. I remember traveling with John Kerry and when Dukakis ran for president, and people would come up and they'd give him a big hug, and he'd hug them. You can't kiss a woman today. You can't hug her.
No.
You have,
But Biden was a little touchy-feely, shall we say.
Oh, yeah.
Smelling the hair. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing every candidate in this country has going for them is the attention span of the American people. I'm doing a column, so I was doing some research, and I read that the attention span of the American public is 8 seconds. Average attention span. A goldfish's is 9, which means they're smarter than we are, but we're lucky because they're going to die out because we'll forget to feed them. But now, it was 12 seconds in 2000. That's nothing to, that's nothing great.
No.
So, I mean, our ignorant, unlettered.
Do you know the average age? You know the level of the average person in the country is 8th grade?
That guy, politician.
I was looking at some stuff, well, for one of the campaigns. And we had a situation where we had to be careful with Dukakis because he could talk over you.
Oh, yeah.
So we had to be careful. And we did some research. The average age of the average American, the average educational level of the average American was early 8th grade. And I was stunned because, not in Massachusetts, no, it's not. We're much higher here. We're 10th grade.
And well, thank God.
Now
we can how can people...
But so you got to, even doing speeches, you have to understand, and let me tell you another very interesting statistic. Last year in the United States of America, 800,000 railroad cars, boxcars, were packed and loaded onto the tracks and moved. But also last year, 900,000 Americans became alcoholics, which means that more people got loaded in America than boxcars.
He's been waiting all day.
No. Anyway, statistically. But the point I'm making
And they vote.
And they vote, yeah. But the point I'm making is that some statistics you got to pay attention to, because if you're going out to Iowa, for instance, to give a speech, you can't pretend you're at Harvard.
That's true, but I'm going to say something about Iowa. The caucus system means people who are thinking are going.
Oh, yeah.
They're probably a smarter group.
Oh, yeah.
And my son's girlfriend is from Des Moines. She's the smartest kid I've met in a long time.
Well, in fact, we went out there during the campaign, flew in there, and we spent 2 days. We went to Duquesne University and some other places. Spent 3 days there. I was surprised. Big shot from Massachusetts. I expected we'd see a lot of guys with coveralls and and pitchforks on their shoulder. Not really.
Huh.
We were at Duquesne University where we did one big event, and it was with a lot of college kids, bright kids, and it kind of surprised us. Flying back on the plane, we were talking, and Michael said, "Got a little surprised, did you?" Yeah, we did. And he said, "Yeah, you guys from Massachusetts are all alike."
Is that where he told them to go ahead and dive?
Yes. Yeah, that's where he told them that. But there again, how 1 or 2 or 3 mistakes in the campaign, we were ahead 22 points coming out of the convention.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Bernard Shaw, the CNN guy, asked him about if your wife was raped, what would you do?
Let's give the seminar.
Well, the thing was interesting. Later on, there's 4 or 5 of us sitting with him, and what could you have said? And we're talking, and I didn't say much, and he looks at me and he says, "Okay, you're the politician, you're the guy that knows, you're the radio guy, you know the answers. What should I have said?" Well, Governor, if it were me, I would have said, first of all, Bernie, that's a hypothetical question. If she hasn't been, and it's very hypothetical. So it's very difficult to honestly answer a hypothetical question. But let me share this with you. Let alone my wife, if any woman was raped and murdered, it's an atrocity. It would hurt me as governor of that Commonwealth like you can't believe. However, I also have a principle, and I am against the death penalty. But I know that we have a great system in this country, and that the laws would be handled, and that poor fellow would probably be put in jail for the rest of his life, and he would never do it again to anybody else. While it would be terrible, but my position is I'm against the death penalty. But I know that he would be caught, apprehended, and he would be put in jail for the rest of his life. And while it would be horrible, and while I would feel terrible, justice will take care of it. That's my answer to your hypothetical question. That's all.
I would have said, and you know, I would have said this because I know everything I said after this would be irrelevant. People would have, I would have said, I would cut off a portion of his body, and you know which one I mean, and watch him bleed. And then I would have arrested myself. And then I would have given the seminar.
Yeah.
But everybody would have said, this guy's a human being. Whatever, you love Mike, and you know what? I wrote a column praising him. But when he started in seminar mode,
oh yeah,
he lost the people.
Oh.
And he couldn't say, hey, real world, come on, real world. And also, you got to remember, like you were saying, the 8th grade, like I was saying, 8 seconds.
Yeah.
Don't give the seminar. Give the soundbite.
Yeah.
Give the soundbite.
Yeah. You know, and the thing is that but it's amazing. And oh yeah, that was 1984. Imagine today with all the numbers of television and news agencies and news. I mean, you watch a movie actress go into a courthouse in Boston to plead guilty, and she can't get through the crowd of newspaper and radio guys and TV guys with microphones and cameras and almost knocking the poor lady over. You know, I mean, so imagine a presidential candidate or a nominee for the party. What luck? And we used to see it. I remember when I was involved with Ted Kennedy when he ran, and my good friend Bobby Seluzniak up in Northampton, he was the Register of Deeds. His family had a big funeral home. We had a big party up in Northampton for Ted, and he came in. We were up there. First of all, they had the streets all blocked off. We got a thing in the mail, and I had to show the little card to the Secret Service. Couldn't get down the street unless you had one of those cards. And that got you down the street and in the house. And then Ted comes and so forth. And everybody in there and the place was crawling. And they had the media wait down the road. They wouldn't even let them in, you know. But that was years ago. Imagine today what it's like, you know. And I remember in Ware, when Ted would come to the house, the Secret Service would come in the morning about 10 o'clock, and they'd go through the whole house, because he was coming for an event that night, and they'd scan the house, and then 2 guys would stay there and guard the house all day so nobody could go in or out. One of my friends came to the front door. Kennedy was now there. Came to the front door to bring some kielbasa or something, thinking he was doing a nice thing. And I thought the Secret Service guys were going to arrest him, because he walked right up to the front door. That's Dick Vaughan's house, you know. And he went to go in. And what are you doing? And they grabbed it. What do you got? We have to check that. And they're sniffing it and looking at it. You know, I mean, it was unbelievable. You know, unbelievable. But think about it. He could have had poison in it. You never know. They don't know who he is. You know. But the thing is that I'm looking to see. First of all, it's the silly season. I mean, it's the silly season.
Yes, but this is what we do. We love the silly season.
Of course. I'm like a kid in the candy store.
Yeah.
I can't wait. And I think the interesting thing is going to be able to see who is the last man standing, and will Trump even run? Because there's some people who don't think he will.
I'm willing to bet. He unless there's a legal problem, I'm willing to bet he'll run.
I think so.
But here's why I think we've got a long wait. I will say one word: Muskie. Remember, he was anointed.
Senator Muskie.
He was anointed, and then
he cried.
He blew it, and I think.
Would he cry?
He cried
yeah.
on Manchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
my old stomping grounds.
Yeah.
He cried.
Oh,
And
someone said something about his wife.
yeah, something, not, he wasn't saying like she spent her life in a brothel or anything
Yeah, no.
like that. It wasn't that big a thing.
No.
And what's his name? Bill Loeb, who
Yeah.
ran the Manchester
Yeah.
Law, could bait anybody.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
he was obviously
Oh, yeah.
wild character and
Oh, yeah.
outrageous character. And so Muskie couldn't hold it together. Now, Biden will not cry. But I have another word for you about him, 2 words for you about Biden. Neil Kinnock. Remember he ran,
Yeah.
and he plagiarized completely Neil Kinnock.
Yeah.
Trump can't shut up, Biden can't shut up.
Oh, no. The biggest problem Joe's going to have is he talks too much.
Yes.
And you know,
And he talks stupidly.
well, not only that,
A 3-letter word, Jobs.
yeah, here's the other problem. If you ask him a question like a reporter, he stops and answers without thinking. And sometimes he doesn't answer he answers the question and ends up sounding stupid. And so that could hurt him terribly.
Because you know what people do connect? They connect, if you sound stupid, you might be stupid. And Joe has been stupid. He's usually been a creature of his staff.
Yeah.
And when his staff has control and can manage him, not too bad. But when Joe's out there,
Yeah.
Joe wants to impress Joe.
I remember President Reagan. Some of his staff people were scared to death of him when he'd walk along, and Sam Donaldson especially would run along and ask him questions, and they kept him, don't answer him, keep going. And he'd stop and start answering them, and then he'd get into a conversation with Donaldson, and he'd say things that he shouldn't have said, you know, and they'd say, well, that's the president, you know.
Well, you get 2 terms doing that. If Joe Biden can get 2 terms doing that,
But see, Ronald Reagan was likable.
that's true.
Was
Do you think
likable.
Biden, on the likable scale, how likable is Biden, do you think?
I think Joe Biden is a lot more likable than Donald Trump. Donald Trump has his core people who are what they are. And they love it, and they love him because he says things like sleepy, creepy, you know, crooked Hillary, all these other things. And so that's okay. But I think Joe Biden is a likable guy. He's easygoing, and he's getting up there in years, and he's likable. Now, does he endear himself to people? No. He's likable. You can take him or leave him. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think he's a John Kennedy by any stretch of the imagination. And he's not a Barack Obama. Obama was likable. You may not agree with him, but he was a likable guy.
Yeah.
You know, and his wife was terrific.
Yeah.
You know, so that plays. So Biden, you know, it's hard for me to. I can't say really he's likable, but he's not unlikable. You know.
The one thing that's going to
But he can be a gadfly, and that's
Yeah.
what he's got to be careful of.
The one thing that's going to definitely lick Trump. A lot of things could lick him, but the one thing that is going to destroy his presidency, if he starts a war, and he's talking about that.
He's trying. He wants to fight Iran so bad.
I don't think he does, but I know Bolton and Pompeo do.
Well, see, Bolton's been trying to start a war for 20 years.
Yes, Bolton, and why is he there? I mean, he was for the Iraq War. He should never be bought in. Anybody who was for the Iraq War.
He started the Iraq War.
Yeah.
Bolton did.
So why is he there? I'll tell you why. The backers of Trump like him.
Yeah.
The people who gave him some money like Bolton.
But he's trouble.
He's trouble. He's, what do they call him? The walrus?
Yeah.
With that mustache?
But he's also. He thinks we can conquer the world, and he's not. He said we have 120,000 troops to put in there. What?
That, you know,
That's what he said today.
First of all, that everybody, that's why Trump got
You
called
know what that
out.
would cost to send 120,000 people?
Just a cost. I mean, just think about the logistics of it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, now you've got to configure transports. You've got to figure.
How are you going to get them there?
Yeah, well, you can get them there, but you're not going to do it at the speed of light.
No. But anyway.
And you give Iran a lot of time to get into a defensive position.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then we're picking on the little country.
Yeah.
And it would kill you. Anyway, I thought we had a great program.
I think.
And let's pursue this. Maybe you and I ought to run as co-presidents. I think that'd be a great idea. And we could get rid of the whole cabinet. We wouldn't need anybody else. You and I. Oh.
We could save so much. The economy, you have no idea, people, what jobs we'd be able to provide.
Oh, yeah. We'd be wonderful.
We would. And we say that with humility.
That's right. And that's another Conversations With. Thanks for watching.